Yeah. Right. Well, it's morning in Hawaii, but I think it's afternoon for everybody else. So wherever you are in the world, good morning or good afternoon, good evening and good night. This is Education on Air, and hopefully you're in the right session. This is hanging out with Google Classroom experts, and we're going to get your Prezi went off full screen there.
Oh, I'm going to stop so we can get to our video.
There we go. So before we get to the presentation, we share all the goodness of Google Classroom. We're just going to introduce ourselves. Before we do that, make sure you're in the Q&A too. I see a lot of you are in the Q&A right now saying hi. So introduce yourselves. Tell us where you're from. Tell us what you do. And if maybe tell us if you do or do not use Google Classroom. We're kind of interested to see who does and who does not use it yet. And hopefully we can convince you otherwise. But let's get to introduction. So I'll start us off, and then I'll introduce the rest of the ladies here. So I'm Mike Fricano. I'm a tech integration specialist for a private school in Hawaii. And we all serve as Google Suites for Education top contributors on the Google for Education forum, as well as on Google Plus and Twitter and all over the social internets. And let's see, I'll move to my left here. So Susan, want to tell us who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Susan Herder. I am the Instructional Technology Coordinator for Mounds View Public Schools, and we're located just north of the Twin Cities in Minnesota.
Thanks, Susan. And Kim.
Hi, my name is Kim Matina. I am a technology integration coach at the William Davies Middle School in Mays Landing, New Jersey. That's about 20 minutes north of Atlantic City.
Awesome. And Heather.
My name's Heather Breedlove, and I'm a tech integration coordinator at Flagstaff Unified School District, and that's Flagstaff, Arizona, right by the Grand Canyon.
Ooh. So we're a mix of Google certified innovators, Google certified trainers, certified administrators. We have lots of experience. We are first and foremost educators in schools. We teach teachers, we teach students, we train, and we're all around Google EDU lovers. And that's why we're here today, sharing about our love and passion for Google Classroom. So let's should we jump back to the presentation and get started?
I'm going to jump right in here. We're going to share the presentation and present it.
See lots of you saying hello in the Q&A. We appreciate that. It's good to see all of you today.
Do you guys see the presentation?
Yeah, just go full screen.
Yep.
Argentina, awesome. New Jersey. Cool. All right, so here's our agenda for today, everyone. We just got through welcome introductions. And each of us are going to share a very important tip for Google Classroom. So Heather's going to start us off talking about Guardian email summaries, and we have a special announcement for that. I'm going to talk about probably a well-known problem in Classroom. You may forget to do this very often. I'm going to give you a great workaround for that. Kim's going to talk about feedback workflow in Classroom, and then Susan, she has a really great idea. Well, she has a great way for you to share your ideas, right? And then we're going to open up the rest of the time to audience Q&A, answer your questions. And if you don't get lots of questions or we get through all your questions, we have some more great tips to share with you as well. So we'll see how far we get with that. So let's start us off with Heather talking about Guardian email summaries.
All right. Help, I need to know if my kid is doing all their assignments. So excited for Guardian email summaries. They provide communication for parents. It arrives in their email box. It's very easy to set up, and it's minimal effort on the teacher's part. Communication is critical for home and school connection. And you know, if you're a teacher, how hard it is to keep up with communication to your parents. So I say, automate to communicate with Guardian email summaries. So step one, there's a little bit of work that has to be done. We get a lot of questions in the forum about, I don't see where to turn it on. I don't know how to do it. So I want to talk a little bit about this. The Google admin at your school district does need to enable Guardian email summaries. So there's two choices. You can have the Google admin would make, all verified teachers are only domain administrators. But if they've selected all verified teachers, most likely you already have it then because you already have access to Google Classroom and you'd be a verified teacher. And also too, Google admins can mass upload parent email addresses using GAM or Google Classroom API. So that's something that they would have to handle. The teacher would just enter them in individually, and we'll look at that in a minute. So step 2, you're going to enable it and you enter the email addresses. So click on the slider, and the slider area is going to be right under class code under the students tab. So that's where you can find out how to set this up. And then from there, oh, sorry, I'm going back. You can see that the second step would be just to click on Invite Guardians and then start entering email addresses. If a student needs to have 2 guardians, you can just click on Add Another. So that you could be more than one guardian getting the email about their child's work. So the beauty of this is that the parents, a teacher, once you click the slider, it'll prompt you to say, hey, do you want this turned on for all your classes that you teach? So you could just say yes right there, and it'll automatically set it up so you can enter in the email addresses for different classes. Like let's say if you're a high school teacher and you have different sections, so you don't have to enable it on every single section that you teach. However, the guardians only get one email message, even if their child has 6 different classes, which is nice. So just because, let's say you teach 5 sections of something and then another teacher teaches 5 sections, you know, the student has 5 or 6 different teachers, they're not getting different email messages. They are getting one email message and it is all in the same message. So what the guardian's gonna do is you invite them, you can see they're gonna click on an email that says, yes, I accept. And if they don't, if for some reason it was the wrong email by mistake, the person can also say, nope, I'm not the guardian. So they do have to accept that. And then once they do, they have to verify their email address. So it'll prompt them to go back and check their email. And in their email, they can log in, and then it'll let them set up what you see here, which is their summary settings. So they can say what their frequency is, set the time zone, and the daily summaries are every day, each afternoon. And then on the week, they can just get them once a week if they want on Friday afternoon. So they can customize that. And then step 4 is guardians receive the email summaries. And, you know, again, it kind of takes away that I didn't know that my kid was missing any work from last week. Well, now they will. They get the missing work, which includes work that's late at the time the email was sent. So if the email was sent and then the student turned it in, it's not going to be updated at that point. It includes upcoming work, which is work that is due today and tomorrow, or in the upcoming week if it's like a weekly email summary. And then the class activity, that can be announcements, assignments, and questions posted by the teacher. However, what this is just an email notification, just a list of either missing work, upcoming work, class activity. It does not allow the guardian to like log into the classroom and see what's going on. So it is not that, but it's more just a list for you. So Google Classroom Guardian email summaries are making your job easier and keeping parents and guardians in the loop about their kid and their classwork. And now Michael is going to share.
Okay, so we're all human and we're all busy teachers, and I do this more often than I'd like, even though I use Google Classroom very often. But the dreaded mistake of forgetting to make that little switch when you're attaching files to your assignment, you forget to make copies for students. What do you do in that case? So I'm going to walk you through some pretty quick steps to fix that issue, so that you don't have to fear that your students won't get those copies like you want them to. So, you know, let's say, you know, in a teacher's busy life, you're rushing to get that assignment posted before they walk in that door, and you attach that Google Doc or Google Slide or whatever, and you meant for them to each have a copy of it. but in your rush to get that assignment posted, you forgot to switch that little drop-down menu there. Students can view file to make a copy for each student, and you go ahead and assign it. Well, I don't know if you know this, but if you do forget to make that switch and you've assigned it already, there's no going back from that. You cannot edit the assignment and then switch it to make a copy. That third option in the drop-down menu disappears once an assignment is posted. So here's how you can quickly fix that. So first of all, do not delete the mistake assignment. Often, you realize you made the mistake, and you're quick to remove that assignment from the classroom because you don't want your students to see it. But in just a couple of quick steps, you can fix that very easily. But don't delete the mistake assignment. Okay, leave it there, and then instead you're going to click the plus down in the corner and choose the reuse post option. Okay, so that's your first step. So you're going to choose reuse post. And then make sure you choose the correct classroom in that pop-up menu, and choose the mistake assignment that you created from the list. And you don't have to, but you can keep the box on the bottom checked for create new copies of all attachments. You may not want to do that. That's up to you, but that doesn't really affect the process. Okay, so you're going to choose that mistake assignment to reuse. And then basically what happens is that mistake assignment is copied into a new assignment post in your classroom, and it'll pull in the same title, it'll pull in the same description and instructions, as well as the you can adjust the due date if you need to. It's also going to keep that same file attached. In this case, it's a Google document, but don't make the same mistake twice. So with this new post, you can the only thing you really have to do is make sure you remember to choose make a copy for each student this time. So this is a great time saver, right? If you delete it in the beginning, you'd have to recreate all of this over again. But by choosing reuse post, you're pulling in all that same information from the mistake assignment, and all you have to do is switch it to make a copy. And make sure you double check your work before you post it. And then when you're ready and you've chosen the correct option for your attachment, then you can click post or assign. And then the last step is now you can delete that mistake assignment. So once you post that new assignment, when you reuse post, you'll have two assignments at the top of your stream. And now you can go ahead and delete the incorrect one, the mistake assignment, and you'll be left with the correct assignment that has the proper option of making a copy for each student. And then you can give yourself a pat on the back and wipe the sweat off your forehead as those students walk in the door. So that's a really quick fix for resolving the issue of forgetting to make a copy, which I very often do in my classroom because I'm a procrastinator sometimes and I just do things last minute in a rush to get things ready. And it's really easy to fix that mistake. So follow those 4 easy steps and you'll be good to go at the beginning of class. I think that's it for my tip. So we're going to move on to Kim.
All right, I am going to go over the workflow of giving students feedback and what you can do in the Google Doc to make that workflow a little easier and quicker. So the first thing that I would recommend is you should be using Google Chrome browser. The first thing that I would recommend is installing the Open Side-by-Side Chrome extension by Alice Keeler. And you can find this at the Chrome Web Store. And what this Chrome extension is going to allow you to do is it's going to allow you to have Google Classroom open on half of your screen and have the Google document that the students, basically the student's file, open on the other half of the screen. So you can see Google Classroom and the student document all together in one screen. So I would really recommend getting that extension. And then once you have that extension installed, you go into Google Classroom and you go to the assignment that you want to open up and grade. So what you do is you actually have to right-click on the link for the Google document for the student. And when you right-click, you're going to get the contents menu. and you're going to have an option that says open side by side. And when you do that, at this point, the screen will split and Google Classroom would be open on one half of the screen. If you can switch to the next slide, there you go. Google Classroom will be open on the one half of the screen and the Google document would be open on the other half. And at this point, you can manipulate the document and then go right back into Google Classroom very, very easily. So once this step is done, at this point, you're ready to give the students feedback. And what I would recommend is using keyboard shortcuts, especially if you're on a Chromebook. It's really great to know keyboard shortcuts. Even on a Windows computer, keyboard shortcuts are my lifesaver. But if you do Control-Alt-M, that'll open up the comment dialog for the Google document in a specific area. And you can type your comment in that area, and you hit Control-Enter to record the comment. And then once that's done, you can hit Control-W, and that will close that Google document for that student. So keyboard shortcuts makes it a lot easier. It's a lot quicker and it's more efficient to help your workflow, especially if you have, 25, 30 students in your class and you're giving them feedback. The keyboard shortcuts are going to definitely make the workflow a lot quicker. So another trick that I get from a lot of teachers in my school district is they want to be able to print all the documents that they have to grade. So an app that I recommend to download is called PDFmergy, and this app can be found in the Chrome Web Store also. And once you download it, what it'll do is it will allow you to select certain files from your Google Drive, and you add all those files into the interface, and you click merge, and it saves all of those multiple files into one PDF. And I actually have a screencast on that. If you click on the video tutorial there, you can actually see a screencast on how the PDFmergy app works. And this is the interface here. You would just drag all of your files into this area here, click merge, and then you would have all of your Google documents into one PDF file. All right, and basically at this point, you can save the merged file into your Google Drive, or you can download it onto your local computer. It's up to you, but this will definitely help with opening up one file as opposed to 25 or 30 files at one time. You'll be able to access that all at once. So I hope you found these tips a little helpful with your workflow for your students, and that your workflow will become a little bit more efficient and quicker.
Okay, on to me. So a lot of times when we're working either in the forum or we're looking at a Google Plus page that we'll share with you later on Twitter, we see a lot of teachers, or even in the Q&A right now, we see a lot of suggestions that would make Classroom really a lot better. So you might be working in Classroom and think to yourself, hey, I have this great idea that would make it better for teachers. And if you go on Twitter and you go into those places and suggest them, it's great because you can share that idea and build some support for it. But really what we want you to do is we want you to actually send that back through Classroom. And the reason that we want you to do this is because this goes directly to the team at Google. So when you're in Classroom, if you notice at the bottom left, there's a little question mark, and there's one of the selections you can pick is send feedback. When you select that, it opens up a new window. You can go to the next one. And that's where you can type in your feedback. But the thing that I think is really powerful, at least in my mind, is that you can add that screenshot. So if there's something specific you want added to, say, the Students tab, you can take that, highlight where you would want it to be located, describe your issue, click send, and that goes directly to the team at Google. You can highlight any important information on your screenshot. You can hide student information if you don't want that sent through. It's just the way that Google's been compiling all of those great ideas coming from teachers and then trying to put those into action. So any of those improvements that you've seen since Classroom really got started came from teachers who are willing to share their ideas. And so I just wanted everyone to be sure that they knew how to provide all that feedback, because I'm probably going to be telling some of you, like, yeah, you should suggest that to Google later after we're done this presentation. So again, just a reminder that feedback drives the improvement in Classroom. Keep it coming. Keep coming to the forum and asking questions, and keep sharing those ideas.
Okay, I am going to stop sharing that for now. And do we have any questions from the audience that you guys have that we can answer that we talk about in our presentation?
Yeah, so let me scroll through here. I'm just gonna look. If you guys see any pop out, feel free to jump on them. So for those of you watching live, if you're in the Q&A, now's your time to ask any dying questions about Google Classroom and how it works with Google Apps.
Yep, and any one of us can answer, so now's the time to kind of pick our brains and see what you want to know.
There were some in here already. See if I can. So one, we got a question from Joanne, and she said, she's asking, can you change the convention of the file name when making a copy for each student, so that it's last name and then first name, so that it files in ABC order by last name and in the Google Drive folder?
Anybody want to take this one?
What's that?
Anybody want to take this one?
Yeah, I can take it.
Okay.
So for those of you that may not be aware, when you do make a copy for each student in Google Classroom, Classroom will automatically name the copies for your students by attaching their name to the beginning of the file. Yeah, I believe it's the beginning. But I think it's, as Joanne is suggesting, it's first name, last name, right? But she wants it to be changed to last name, first name, and there's no way to have that done automatically in Classroom. So Classroom will just automatically put first name, last name at the beginning of a file. You could ask your students to go in and change the name of that file themselves, or you could do it as well, because a teacher always has the right to edit student files. So if you want the files to start with the last name, you could go into the Google Drive folder and change the name of those files, but that's a manual process. You'd have to do that one at a time for each of your students.
And Joanne, Susan was just talking about this. Joanne said, can everyone start asking for this, please? You definitely want to make the request through Google Classroom. And that way they do track the requests through Classroom that way. But there is nobody, I don't think there's an annoying list. So just keep asking. Just keep requesting.
Yeah, ask your teachers to submit it, ask your students to submit feedback, right? So just the more feedback they get, the better. And I see a lot of the questions you're asking are, can Classroom do this? Can it do that? And if our answer is no, then that is something you should submit as feedback, right? The more feedback they get, the better.
Yeah.
You guys see any other questions? I'm just scrolling through again. I mean, there's lots of questions there, but let's see. It says, here's a question for you, Heather, since you're talking about Guardian.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way, this is from Herbert, is there a way for the teacher or the student to see the Guardian updates?
The Guardian updates, if they had an email address, it would be the same process. Is that the question?
For the teacher, I think he's asking, can the teacher and or the student see that same Guardian summary email that the parent sees?
No. The email is just sent out. I know what you're talking about, like looking at a preview. I don't think so.
No, right?
Yeah, but you could add the student. Yeah, I could see what they want to see. There was a question in the forum recently about, the Guardian, this is kind of an important thing too. The Guardian email was sent out and the parent and the student and the teacher were like, the student turned in the work, and the Guardian email saying, no, they didn't. And after doing a little research, I'm still working with them on what's happening. But if you have a student who's submitting work not through Classroom, because sometimes we just, they get it through Classroom, but they might just share it with you directly. And if they don't hit that submit button in Classroom, that'll come up on the Guardian email, even though they technically turned it in. So just that's a good distinction.
My students have learned that lesson the hard way.
You don't want parents freaking out. Like, why are you
freak out when they see that email and they say late.
Yeah.
They're emailing, wondering why their child's late. And just to backtrack a little bit, actually brings up a pretty brilliant idea. You mentioned that, like, if a teacher or a student wanted to get that same Guardian email, the teacher could put their own email address or the student's email address in the Guardian email box, and they could get the same email, which is kind of a smart idea, because that would be a nice way for the student to get a summary of their own work.
Yeah,
as well as
kind of monitored.
I didn't think
because
it's kind of cool.
Yeah, or else the student would have to go all in Classroom. They would have to click on the menu item and then go to their work. But that does look a little different than the summary email, especially if they are a secondary student and they have multiple classes coming in. So that's something to try.
Yeah,
they would have to.
Really cool for students. I mean, because it's meant to be a Guardian parent summary, but it could very well be used as a student summary as well.
Yeah, because right now there's no way a student can get a summary of their work. They'd have to go into each individual assignment. So that would at least give them, a summary of what they missed or what's late at the end of the week or whatnot. So that's a really great suggestion.
Yeah, I like that.
All right, we are 2 minutes in.
One more question?
Left. Yeah, and do we want to look over some of the other question slides that we had?
Let's
Pull
see.
that in.
Let's see.
Any other questions?
Let's see. Well, there's one here. I'll bring it up. She said, this is Erica. She says, when will we be able to push docs out to a group rather than individual students? And we have no idea, but that's great feedback. I think that's probably one of the most popular questions by teachers. The most popular request is to be able to differentiate in Classroom and to create assignments for specific students or specific group of students. Mm-hmm. So submit that as feedback.
I'm going to chime in on that too. We in our Q&A, we were talking about Alice Keeler, and she has some great resources. When I get those questions in the forum, I also link, if you just Google Alice Keeler small group work and group work, you'll find her workarounds. They are workarounds, but that's all we have for now, and that is definitely a huge requested feature in the forum.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a question here on a link to the presentation. So if you guys are on the Google for EDU website and you scroll down, you find our session. There's a link to our resource materials for this presentation, which includes our Google slide presentation. So you can access it there, as well as the video and the Q&A and all that.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to remind people that there are additional slides after the ones that we went through. If you take a look at the slide deck, that have links to the forum, the help forum, if you have any questions, links to a very popular Google Plus community for Google Classroom. I think it's over 75,000 people in it. And it also has all of our contact information if there's any additional questions. And we've added some of the most common questions that are asked and some explanations on that slide deck as well.
All right, we have 160 viewers, so thank you for joining us for our session. We're going to wrap this up. It's 3 o'clock. Hopefully you got some questions answered. And again, if you didn't, you know where to reach us. In the forum, on Twitter, in the Google Plus community, we're there helping you guys out.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you so much, everyone.
And enjoy the rest of the conference.
Bye.
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 Thank
Aloha.
you.